guys. I'm sorry that I'm so like blown out on Facebook today. I don't know why. Also, I do have the window open right next to you, so if the crows end up bothering you, let me know. I'm wondering if you can even hear them. There. So if those guys are too loud, let me know. It's sort of, after so much heat this past week, it's sort of just nice to have a breeze going through. But our oven won't be on very long. This is the easiest recipe we've done so far, by far. This is simple, it's just a few ingredients. You can spruce it up however you want. So I'm excited you guys picked this. We're doing, if you don't know, coconut macaroons today. Not macarons. If you're looking for the French macaron, different. We're doing something much simpler that requires no drying time, no setting time, but still gluten-free. So that's nice. That's nice if you do have if you're trying to watch your gluten intake or are gluten intolerant or have celiacs. So I'm glad you're joining me today. I feel like I have a ton of equipment out, and it's not that daunting. It's very simple. For one, the double boiler is for melting chocolate later, which you don't even have to do. And the stand mixer is optional. I was going to we're whipping egg whites today, just 2 of them though, and I was going to do it by hand, and then I thought, well, we can get the other ingredients going while it's whipping, so I'm not joining you in that today. But you know, if you wanna like build up your arm muscles, truly it takes maybe 5 minutes to whip egg whites by hand, so don't worry about that. Actually, if I'm feeling really lazy, I whip egg whites by hand, because this feels like so much more to clean than a bowl and a whisk. But it is just a bowl and a whisk, so we can get started now if you guys are ready. Once again, I did not write the recipe in the order that I should have, but I'll tell you what the game plan is. Our egg whites and our salt are going to be whipped together, and then the sweet condensed milk, coconut, and vanilla extract all go in a bowl together, and that's it. Isn't that simple? Guys, and we're going to have macaroons by the end of this. So I will start by preheat your oven to 350. We'll get that going now. Done. And now 2 egg whites. I'll pull this up. I am separating them with you today. Keep your yolks. Guys, absolutely keep your yolks. They're super useful. Every chocolate chip cookie recipe worth its dough, that should be a phrase, has an egg yolk in it. So keep your egg yolks. They are useful. But just like when we were making meringue, make sure there's no grease in your bowl. Make sure you don't get any yolk, any fat, that's the issue, fat, into your egg whites, or else they won't whip up. And a note, if you're bringing boxed egg whites, the carton ones, I have had very bad experiences with that whipping up, so maybe try it. I mean, try it, especially if that's all you have. But just know they might not whip up, and you need this at stiff peaks for this to work. And hello to everyone who's joining, whether or not you're baking along. Thank you for joining today. We're having fun. We're making coconut macaroons. So, for those of you who are, or anyone watching this later, we're gonna get 2 egg whites into our mixing bowl or whatever you're whipping in, and the salt, 1/4 teaspoon salt. And get your garbage bowls out for these eggs, guys. I do recommend, egg shells, don't throw your eggs away. I do recommend separating them into a separate bowl, because if, let's say, like I almost just got some yolk in there, then you don't ruin everything. 1 egg white down. So sort of drop your egg white in its own bowl, and then if you get yolk, you don't have to throw it out, but you don't have to use it for this recipe either. Hopefully, though, you have another egg. All right. Okay, 2 egg whites into the mixing bowl, and add your 1/4 teaspoon salt. And if you have any questions, let me know. I'm right here behind the recipe. All right. And then it's gonna get a little loud in here. You can absolutely turn the volume all the way down if you want. One thing, one of the stand mixers in the kitchen I work out of, for instance, the whisk doesn't reach the egg whites, and so I can't actually use it to whip egg whites unless it's more than 2. So a hand mixer works great. Mine, fortunately, at home does. Okay, right before I get this baby going, the egg whites and the salt to stiff peaks is what we're doing. I'm going to tell you what we can do while these whip, and if you're doing it by hand, it's okay. It's very hard to fall behind in a recipe with this many ingredients. Very simple. What's coming next is 7 fluid ounces of sweetened condensed milk, and what that is, it's not weighed. It's going to be, here we go, on your measuring cup. Oh, see, it is backwards, but 1 cup is 8 ounces, and I'm just going on mine, for instance, between the 6 and the 8, halfway, to get 7 ounces. So you're gonna use your liquid measuring for this. 7 fluid ounces of sweetened condensed milk, and your coconut, whether you're using sweetened, unsweetened, shredded, flaked. My preference is sweetened, flaked coconut. Absolutely dealer's choice here. Whatever you want. And then vanilla extract. So our remaining 3 ingredients, these are in our bowl. Our remaining 3 ingredients are gonna go in a different bowl together, and you just mix them up. Super simple. You just mix them up. So I'm going to leave the recipe up. I'm gonna get the egg white started. We're looking for stiff peaks. And I'm gonna put the remaining 3 ingredients, don't worry about the chocolate right now. The remaining 3 ingredients, sweetened condensed milk, coconut, and vanilla extract, into a separate bowl. All right, are we ready? Have at it. I will show you what our stiff peaks look like. And if it's helpful, 1 bag is 14 ounces. So I'm just using a full bag of coconut. One thing I do want to note, while I'm not there yet, but I do want to make sure you know that it won't take up a full can of sweet condensed milk, and that's what we're looking for. It's not going to be a full can. Don't use a full can. They won't turn out quite right. I'm sure they'd still be yummy though. But you can use leftover sweet condensed milk for a ton of stuff, including gooey brownies we had last week. You can make a smaller batch. Vietnamese iced coffee is coming straight back to my mind because that's what I would use it for. So not the full can. Don't just dump that puppy right in. Oven's ready. Back to the egg whites. I'll put the recipe back up. Alright, I'm checking on my egg whites. Oh, that is a stiff peak. Okay, stiff peaks are when, see this peak right here? It stands up on its own. It doesn't lilt at all. If it lilts, it's not quite there. And I'll pull out the whole bowl for you to see. Just like that. See, it doesn't move at all. I mean, that guy just fell. I just pulled it off the whisk. But look at that. That's stiff peaks. That's what we're looking for today. And then as far as our other ingredients go, everything's already in the bowl. Vanilla, sweetened condensed milk, our coconut. Mix this together, and then we're gonna fold in the egg whites. Now, if you are using unsweetened coconut, I think it's finer. So that's absolutely fine. It's gonna be a little bit different in terms of texture, and it'll be a little less sweet, but you really can't go wrong. I have to say, I do like these macaroons. I like everything that I sell. I make sure I like it before I ever begin to sell it, because you know what I mean, I don't know. I can't sell something that I don't actually like. But my favorite macaroon Guys, no matter what, my favorite coconut macaron is the Matterhorn macaroon in Disneyland. It's perfect. It's completely different than the ones I make. It's, I'm guessing, I have absolutely no idea actually. I'm guessing it's piped. A lot of macaroons, that's how you get those gorgeous sort of fluted edges on some macaroons. Those are piped. These are not. These are drop cookies, basically. And it's, it's nowhere near as moist as these, but it's got this like chew to it, and whatever is on top, I have no idea. It's not white chocolate, though I'm going to do that today, some white chocolate. I just love, plus they're huge. Oh my gosh. These come in second to Matterhorn macaroons, and I'm okay with that. I'm surprised, I'm pleased, I'm pleasantly surprised that all of sort of the base menu, I call them base menu items, they're around all year. Gluten-free cookies are, they always get good reviews, and I'm always really happy to hear that, because I don't sell many gluten-free items, and so just the fact that someone who does have a gluten intolerance can find something they enjoy from me, excellent. Oh my goodness. These cookies included. Okay, I will move my stand mixer out of the way. All right. And time to fold in the egg whites. How easy is this recipe, guys? It's so easy. And hello to anyone who has joined in since we started. These are almost in the oven. That's how quick this recipe is. And we're gonna just melt some chocolate while they bake. And absolutely your choice. If you don't want to add in chocolate, they don't do it. I don't typically, and so I thought that was a fun alternative, doing something differently. Next week, speaking of doing things differently, a few people requested the oatmeal cookies that I sell, sugared oatmeal cookies. No raisins, no offense, but no raisins. Not my thing. But you're welcome to come with your cinnamon and your raisins, and bake along and add in cinnamon and raisins, and you've got this. Trust me, it's a delicious cookie. It's very cool. So folding, if you don't know what folding is, you're going to take your spatula, rubber spatula, down the center and dig underneath towards you and fold over. One more time. And I like to move the bowl as I do this to try and do it easily. We just spent all that time, not that much time, whipping air into the egg whites, and we don't want to deflate it. That's one reason these macarons are so light, is that we didn't deflate the egg whites. And at that point, I don't think they'd turn out, but I'm like, just put the egg whites right in then. You know what I mean? If we're going to be too rough during this part. It's funny, I feel like over time I've learned certain things are nowhere near as delicate as I would expect, and certain things are much more delicate than I would expect. All right. Now, I brought my cookie scoop today, just to make it easy. You can use 2 spoons. You can use whatever you want to drop these on the tray. You could actually, I have done this and it's worked, make just one big pan of them and cut them like bars. That works actually wonderfully. So it doesn't matter the size so long as they're even. And I like to make sure, because these are so light, I just use my other hand to, one, make sure it's in one ball so it comes out evenly. And 2, you don't want massive air pockets in these. I think they bake okay, but that's not really that fun on the other end. And so I'm going to scoop 12, and then you can scoop the extra into a different pan and freeze these. You can bake them straight from frozen. They don't really harden up at all, which I think is nice. And they cook the exact same. Parchment is a good idea if you have it. It's not necessary. We're still going to have to sort of maneuver them off the pan. I would recommend you keep parchment at all times. I think everything is better with parchment. I'm trying to think of anything I don't use parchment on. And the items I don't use parchment on are items that parchment doesn't even do it. I need a silicone mat or a silicone. I have gosh, I need to remember the company. This amazing thing that slides into a 9 by 13 inch pan with sides. So I mean, if you have quarter sheets or half sheets, I like to buy them pre-cut. That's much easier. But I use parchment on everything. It just ensures your product comes out, and that's what's important. I can't believe these are almost in the oven. I'm really glad you guys picked these today. The other options were super fun. Madeleines, Florentines, all cookies, but not really cookies. I probably have maybe 3 or 4 left over. I'm gonna scoop them and freeze them. And it was the closest race I've ever seen. Last minute these pulled ahead. Oh my gosh, someone just said that the oatmeal cookies are really good. I'm so glad. I like them because I don't like raisins. Wax paper's not the same as parchment. It'll work on some things, not all. I don't cook with wax paper. I don't think that's a good idea, ever. But wax paper to store things I think is great. I'm trying to think of anything else you can use besides parchment. I never think it's a good idea to grease a pan that you would have used parchment, just because you don't know what you're cooking necessarily is going to react. For instance, I think I mentioned on our choux pastry day, week 2, cream puffs. You can't grease a cream puffs pan because they won't actually rise up. They'll spread, and then you won't get a hollow center, which is what you're looking for with choux pastry. These are going in the oven. It's going to be about 15 minutes. I'm going to check them at 7 minutes and turn the pan around. And all you're looking for is as golden brown as you like it. I like mine pretty golden brown. Plus, they soften over time, but right out of the oven, you've got this crunch on the outside. I should have mentioned this. If you have any sort of stray bits sticking out too far, they'll brown quicker. They might burn. You can always rip them off. Like, you're not going to ruin the macaroon, typically. Hopefully I burn one so I can show you what I'm talking about. Okay, while those bake, I'm melting chocolate. I'm melting 2 different types of chocolate. I'm doing a bittersweet chocolate, and I'm doing a white chocolate. White chocolate. Guys, if you've ever tried to melt white chocolate, it's a pain in the tush. And hopefully it doesn't seize on me. If it does, you'll see what I mean by why it's so difficult. So I'm gonna get my burner. I've got a double boiler. I've got some water down here. I just have a glass bowl, so hopefully I can show you what I'm doing. And I'm gonna put the white chocolate in, and I'm not going to touch it until it looks like it is shiny and melted. And then I'm gonna stir and I'm gonna pull it off the heat. I'm not doing very much. I don't even think I'm gonna dip all of my macarons today. While that goes, I'll be doing some chocolate melting in the microwave. I feel like I need to bring, temp is at 350. Sorry about that. 350, about 15 minutes. It really depends on how golden brown you like them. So maybe it's less time for you, which is why I recommend checking halfway through. If it looks like it's getting too close, set that second timer for a much lower time. I know some people have made these. I couldn't believe that we were using sweetened condensed milk 2 weeks in a row because I'm bringing it back up again. I have not made these with dulce de leche. I don't see why they wouldn't work though, guys. Even with my terrible experience with dulce de leche, as a substitute for this, I really don't see why they wouldn't work. It sounds interesting. Chocolate that is easier to deal with, like this, I'm doing 30-second intervals in the microwave. Maybe less. I'm going to do 20 because I don't have that large of a quantity. And make sure you're using heat-proof spatulas for all of this stuff. I'm getting 2 out, 1 for my white chocolate, 1 for my bittersweet. And the thing about the white chocolate, to me, dries very quickly. So it's okay that you're starting now. It's going to take a while, but you want to dip them as soon as it looks melted. All right. It doesn't matter that it doesn't look like it's melted at all. Give it a stir, put it back in the microwave. I'm going to do it in 20-second intervals because I'm really not using very much. When it comes to freezing the dough, you can hardly call it that, can you? A more parchment I recommend. And so long as it's flat, it doesn't matter. Yeah, that's really my only tip. Just make sure they're not on top of each other because it's going to be difficult to separate evenly. You're just going to have to re-scoop it, which at that point, why didn't you just freeze it sort of in its bowl? Now, I'm out of parchment, so I'm not using it. I recommend it, but it's not necessary. Mostly here, it's cleanup on the back end is a little bit easier. Sweet condensed milk is a sticky substance. All the more delicious. And I said this last week too, but you can make sweet condensed milk. So if you have milk and sugar on hand, you can make this, even if you don't have sweet and condensed milk. Total, mine made 17 today. And you don't have to make them a dozen at a time. You can bake these off one at a time. Sometimes I'm like, well, I know I want more than one. I'll bake 4 off and then pretend to only eat 2, eat a third, and then keep the 4th one for later. If anyone has any questions, let me know. My bittersweet chocolate is getting there. Maybe 3 more rounds in the microwave. One thing I do recommend when melting chocolate in the microwave, sometimes it's gonna go for 1 less turn than you think, because as you stir it, it continues to melt. And let me check on our white chocolate. It's not shiny. You know, chocolate begins to shine as it's melting. It'll shine in its baking chip form. And this is not fancy white chocolate. This is baking chip white chocolate, normal white chocolate. If you do want to temper, I feel like I need to bring my brother on for a bake-along to show you how to temper chocolate. I'm really not confident it would work if I attempted to show you. The thing about tempered chocolate is, if you're doing it today, awesome, by the way, you do have to dip quickly, because one of the beautiful aspects of tempered chocolate is it sets really quickly. And it sets glossy, and it's got a snap, and it's wonderful. There's nothing wrong with untempered chocolate, unless you really care about all the things I just said. And it's okay to care about all that too. These will take a bit to set. They will. Because I'm not tempering today. That was my initial point. You do want good chocolate for that, if you're going to temper. I would not recommend tempering what I'm working with today. 2 more minutes on the macaroons. My water is getting there. That's a pro to having a glass bowl on a double boiler. Normally I just think like, oh, well, I can see the bottom. I can see the water. I'm learning things right in front of you right now. It is getting there. And I'll show you the macaroons. They're about to beep in 50 seconds, and I'll show you perfect. What we're looking at about halfway through. If you really like crispy macaroons, I'd recommend closer to 20 minutes than 15. Again, absolutely your choice. All right, see, I would not go past this. It is melted and gorgeous. There are a few little bits, and I'm gonna stir those into my melted chocolate. Chocolate seizes. If you try and add just about any liquid, water, chocolate seizes. Extract. You can add a very small amount of food dye, very small, like 2 drops, and maybe it doesn't seize on you. Chocolate, man, you know? You know? Okay, perfect. Okay, macaroons, here we come. Let's check them out. Isn't this the easiest recipe we've done? It's wonderful. Okay, so this is halfway through. You know that it's doing well. If you look around the bottom, it's bubbled out a little bit. That's perfect. And I've got, maybe you can see, just the little tips. And these are the tips I was talking about. Just the little tips are turning golden brown. So we're on our way. I think I might set it for another full, I'm nervous about 7. I'm setting it for 6 minutes. Sometimes I have a good feel on this. Sometimes I don't have a good feel on this. We'll see where I am today. Perfect. Okay, my white chocolate is getting just shiny around the edges. I sort of want to show you that is not hot. Maybe you can see what I'm talking about. Like these right there, that guy in particular, he's shiny. I'm trying to show you in the light here. I don't know why today, sorry everyone on Facebook, for some reason today the curtains are even closed, although I have white curtains in the kitchen. Today in particular, it must be as the days get longer, the placement of the sun at this time is obviously changing. So, but I'm sorry if like the coloring is blowing you out too much. Okay, 6 minutes. I am going to take 1 stir of my white chocolate and I'm gonna let you know how it goes. I just wanna see how melted we're getting. Okay, the bottom ones are melting nicely. I'm gonna mix them around just a little bit. and make a little bit of a more even layer as these melt. And again, the white chocolate will dry quickly. Okay. And I am, yes, if you have discovered it, I am like half trying to make a Matterhorn macaron. It's not white chocolate though. I got it, and maybe they've released the recipe. I don't know. It would be beautiful if I could just discovered it on my own. I'm covering my extra macaroons. I'm throwing them right into the freezer. You do want them covered. You don't want them to dry out in the freezer. That would be sad on the back end. You're gonna find space for these macaroons. Is that gonna stay? And how are we doing? I haven't checked in a while. Is everyone doing well? I'm using 2 types, bittersweet and white chocolate today. You can literally use any type you want, completely up to you. I'm just using baking chips, which is different. There is a specific term for chocolate that's best for tempering. Holler at me if you know what I'm talking about. It starts with a C. All I'm getting are chocolate brands in my head. It starts with a Couverture. It's French. Of course it's French. Ooh, no, I know if you look it up, you will find exactly what I'm talking about. You can buy them online. You can buy them in most grocery stores, especially specialty food grocery stores. You'll find it there. Actually, surprisingly, a lot of baking chips that I use that are not that widely spread, cinnamon baking chips, for instance, I can only find those in specialty food stores. Sometimes I can only find caramel chips in specialty food stores. You can always find it online though. Just make sure you're getting a good price, because sometimes they know you can't find those cinnamon chips and they want to make a killing on that sale. You can always find it at a reasonable price online as well. But if you need it right now, around here, Draeger's always ends up having, if you have a Draeger's nearby, always ends up having the chips I'm looking for. I think they have cinnamon chips year-round, and a lot of stores only carry those in the fall and winter, which is almost the only time I use them. Couverture, thank you. Is that how you pronounce it? Yes, we've got someone on Instagram who knows what I'm talking about with the chocolate. That's it exactly. If you need to Google it, Couverture. That's the type of chocolate that is best for tempering, and you can get it. I just heard my water turn up on here, and I'm going to turn it down a little bit. Actually, I'll give my white chocolate a stir. It's looking shinier and shinier. Woohoo, okay, we're getting there. A little bit longer on the heat, and then I'm going to stir the rest in. White chocolate and seasoning, they're not enemies, they're best friends, and you want them to be enemies. I mean, why do we have to seize white chocolate? I might pull this off now. I'm almost here to tell you that it is possible to melt white chocolate without it being a complete disaster. Through an incredible amount of trial and error. A lot of white chocolate lost to seizing. And it doesn't even taste good at that point. If it seizes, I should explain. It almost turns to solid instantly, and it's grainy. It's like, gosh, it's just like something. All right, it's absolutely time for me to pull this. Let me see if it's hot. Turn off your stovetop. It's a little bit hot. So we're at no water in my chocolate. There are still some chips in here, but it is very melted. And so I'm just gonna stir the rest of those chips in. I am excited to have some white chocolate dipped macaroons. I feel like that's not a treat I get frequently. I don't even sell chocolate dipped macaroons unless it's expressly requested. And then of course. Maybe one chocolate I'd steer away from is milk. That's a lot of sweet. I mean, white is, obviously, but it's a different flavor. If you want chocolate, I would go for a little darker, semi-sweet or darker. And if you want white chocolate, you know you want white chocolate, and you use that white chocolate. And you carefully tend to it on your double boiler and not in the microwave because it's not gonna work. Let's check. All right, mine have been in for 13 minutes. Ooh, and they're almost to where I like them, but I'm gonna put them back in for maybe 2 to 3 more minutes. So it's got this puffiness around the edge, that's perfect. You can see that the base, there we go, is getting dark. And the base, if it looks like it's overcooking to you, move it up to the next rack. And I've got this gorgeous golden brown. I want it a little bit darker on top. I'm gonna put it back in for 2 minutes. And I moved it up to the next rack. If someone has a success story of melting white chocolate in the microwave, holler at me. I think it's near impossible. One thing you can do that I read can save, oh good, I'm glad for it. Someone says they can't wait to make them. Good, and it's so simple. And you can, even now, I think you can find everything that you're looking for at the grocery store, which is nice. These times are so odd and unique, but we can still make the best of them, which is cool, and always learn something new. Because I put mine back in the oven, my macaroons. One thing I might do, and you can absolutely do this, is if it looks like this is setting too quickly, I'm just gonna put it back over the double boiler, but the stovetop is off, the water is still warm. And so that can just make sure you're not losing all that time you put into melting the white chocolate. And also the macaroons are almost done. I would recommend probably letting your macaroons cool a little longer than I'm going to today. I am going to give them a few minutes to cool. And it's not going to harm the chocolate at all. It'll just take maybe that much longer to set. Speaking of which, I got to get a plate out. I think one thing I would recommend is setting them over, and you might not have this on hand. I do, and I'm fortunate in that. Excuse the loud noises I'm about to make. Setting your chocolate-covered ones on top of a wire. What am I saying? One of these cooling racks. Some people, I use these to make bacon, crispy. That way though, if you want it sort of a clean bottom with no chocolate gooing on the sides, who cares if chocolate's gooing on the sides, by the way? That sounds delicious. This is one way you can do it. I'm gonna dip and let them rest on this guy while they set. Oh, they're ready. And again, this is how I like my macaroons. I like them lightly golden brown on top, but sort of all over the top. And so I actually do have golden brown just down to the sides here, and then the bottom is cooked nicely. So this is how I like macaroons. You are welcome to do however you like macaroons. Cook them as long as you want. Oven's off, we're done. Hello. Recommend, of course, an offset to get these guys off the pan. I'm gonna let them cool for 2 minutes, and then I'm gonna get them off the pan. If you go too quickly on this, your macaroons might break. And again, they're crispiest just out of the oven, so that's one thing. They're also delicious soft though, so you can't go wrong. And I am going to set my white chocolate back over the warm water just to make sure it stays in this perfect state. Check your dark chocolate too if you're melting any chocolate with me today. This takes longer to set, but if you had tempered, this would probably already be set. Seriously, I'm having my brother on to temper chocolate for you guys sometime. Isn't that a skill everyone wants? I do want it. I'm not a chocolatier, you know? And I'm okay with that. I'm not even in, I probably mentioned this before. In France, you have patisserie, pastry, you have boulangerie, bread making, and you have confiserie, candy making, confectionery. And I do like the confectionery portion, but chocolatiers, that's a special breed of people. Someone already broke a macaroon. Oh yeah, if you broke a macaroon, pop that right in your mouth. That's what it's for. I did want to show you, and I will do this up close, what happens if you have a crispy bit. So it's possible that You can just, for instance, what's the best way to show you this? This guy over here, he has a little bit sticking off the edge, and I can just rip it off, but I take some off with it. So you want to be really careful about what pieces you pick off. Ones that are just sticking up, if you really don't like the coloring, you can break off the top. Totally works. But also, it's just crunchy and it's just good, and there's nothing to worry about. 10 seconds and our 2 minutes are up already. So I'm going to move maybe half of these onto this tray here, and we can get to decorating. Offset, very helpful here. You just slide, this is my recommendation, to get them off your pan cleanly, because they're still sticky. It's to sort of saw underneath, perfect. Get my glove off. And I can show you how sticky it is by looking at my offset after I move it. I mean, look at this. This is how sticky they are. So this is sort of, use a spatula, use something to get them off. If you just try and pull them off with your hand, you're probably gonna end up with a few pieces of macaron. Delicious. Nothing wrong with that. You can sell them as rustic macaroons to your friends and family. As they cool, they're gonna get, they're less likely to break apart, more stuck to the pan. It's sort of like a lose-lose. Or a win-win, because you're dealing in macarons and there's nothing wrong with that. All right, so I've got 6 and I'm gonna do some dipping. And I've got a tray, a cooling rack here just to let the drippage go underneath. Actually, I'd recommend some foil underneath. Makes cleanup really easy. Mine says, so I won't do it. Or parchment works great too. If someone is interested in hearing how chocolate is tempered, I'm calling my brother. I'm going to say, hey, brother, his name is Jacob. We could do some really fun treats with tempered chocolate. I mean, he doesn't just have to do a tempering demonstration. He could, like I could make marshmallows and he could do tempered chocolate and we could end up with chocolate covered marshmallows with a really nice snap. Ooh, I'm getting excited, you guys. Okay, I'm gonna do white first. I've got it right here. It's still melted. It's still nice. Look at that. That's what we're looking for. I'm just dipping the bottoms in. Nothing fancy. I'm not doing anything fancy. Oh my gosh. I just smeared chocolate all over the side. It doesn't really matter. Though sorry you had to watch that. And then I'm gonna do some dark chocolate on the next one. Right? And then I want to do some drizzles. Obviously, this is completely whatever you'd like to do, you do. I think I'm going to drizzle the next 2 with each. Oh, now that's fun. And this way, again, you don't have it pooling along the sides. I think the last one, I'll just leave white chocolate. And I've got a lot of leftover chocolate. All right, white chocolate, come here. Hello. Oh, that's gonna be my favorite one. Now I'm kicking myself. I'm like, well, why didn't I just do white chocolate on a few of them? Just white chocolate. Because that's beautiful and very fun. And again, it's going to take a bit for these to set. You don't have to sit here watching chocolate set with me. It's like watching water boil. And then on these last 2, I'm going to do a drizzle of the ones that aren't on bottom. And again, it'll probably be easier if you wait to dip yours. No need to follow along, but I want to make sure I show you sort of my plans. The ones that are on the pan, you can freeze them baked. Just pull them out. Maybe let them temper before you pop them in your mouth. You can just keep them. They actually are still wonderful 5 to 7 days later. So you don't have to eat all of them. And you can have coconut macaroons ready to eat in your freezer. You just freeze them exactly as they are. Can't tell you about freezing with the chocolate. It would be fine. When you freeze chocolate, it sort of, can streak and turn that gray. So just know that that might happen. That doesn't make them any less edible. Okay, I'm going to gingerly move these coated ones to my plate to show you before I sign off. Oh, I just think these are so cute. My favorites are by far the zebra ones. All right, let's just put this guy right in the middle. And before I show you, I'm just going to get my hands clean. Okay. So, how long has it even been? 40 minutes, fully cooked, already covered, coconut macaroons. What do we think? Oh yes, I'm so sorry. Someone's tuning in. Oh, no problem. Baking, I ended up baking mine for 15 minutes. If you want it darker, go longer. Once it starts browning, you're good to go whenever you want to pull it out. So maybe closer to 20 if you like it darker. But if anyone else has questions, let me know. Otherwise, we've got macarons. I'm really excited to eat them. Seriously, look at this zebra one right in the center. Ah, he's so fun. We've got some coated on the bottom. I just think this is wonderful. Thank you guys for joining me this week. I hope this was as simple as it felt to me. I know we've got a little bit of a cleanup if you did chocolate, but if you didn't, it's like a 2-bowl recipe with coconut macaroons and 15 minutes later. So this was fun. I'm glad you picked it. Next week, oatmeal cookies. This past week, I was asking, and it was 100% yes response rate, that you guys want the recipes written out along with the videos. So that will be ready on the site by this week, the end of this week. That'll all be set up. And if you don't follow on Instagram or Facebook, follow, I'll post it there. As well as, if you aren't a subscriber to the site, summer is coming out. Summer treats come out Tuesday, and I'm very excited about them. And Tuesday, if you're a Beurre box subscriber, your box is coming, or if you're out of town, it's shipping Tuesday, and the exclusives in it are very fun. I'm stoked about it. So thank you to everyone who subscribes to the email list and the boxes. You guys keep me baking, and I love it, and you keep me creating. Other than that, if anyone's following along later, you're not doing it live, post your pictures up, tag it as hashtag Beurre Bakealong, Beurre. If you did want to sign up for the email subscription, go to the website, hit contact all the way on the right, and at the bottom of that page you can sign up so you don't miss a beat. Other than that, this has been super fun, so let me know how it went. Let me know if you're doing crazy flavors. In case you didn't know, you can mix this up. You can use an almond extract, for instance. You can do a bunch of different things. I've seen birthday cake macarons before, which are really fun, coconut macarons. So let me know how you're mixing it up today. And I'll see you next week for some playtime with oatmeal cookies. And that's it. Thank you so much. I will see you guys next week. And in the meantime, take care of yourselves. Man, we're getting there. We're getting there. Bye.